project are fundamental to keep the different points together, trying to understand how to properly develop a common strategies that can support green growth on one side, but also blue growth and resilient strategies in general. And this point, in this sense, has to be connected also to the general situation of the resilience framework. Resilience framework that is an element that have to be considered to have the cities very, 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 how can I say, resilient environment also for the economic activities. And in this aspect, the weak point, the risk and vulnerability of Mediterranean countries are very evident to be addressed within also and to support the green growth strategies. In this sense, from all the aspects related to climate change has to be included in any strategies related to that. In this perspective, for example, looking at the Mediterranean countries where there is a sort of activities, a sort of tendencies of soft and swift, in the sense that the climate scenario is changing and we have to take into consideration in the green growth strategies, because the changing of climate geography change also the effect on our economic activities that operates accordingly the green growth perspective. Also because we have an opposite tendencies in the capacity of designing resilience activity, resilient policies of the Mediterranean in respect to the northern countries, in the sense that the capacity of Mediterranean countries to design resilience framework for proper activities is weaker than in the north. So on this point we have to stress a lot and we have to insist in the next phase. All the activities that only have events related to climate impacts have to be considered in our vision for green growth. So if we wanted to be quite operative in the designing of green growth strategies and green growth activities at local level, we have to stress that the urban and natural environment has to be keep as much as possible accordingly resilience perspective. And the interaction between the different strategies and the different European policies and the different cooperation territorial project that operates in MED countries have to be linked together to be as much as possible efficacious in the definition of the general framework. So in this sense, operating according to green growth, I think that it's equivalent and have as a sort of a prerequisite operating accordingly resilience perspective in terms also of climate resilience of the Mediterranean countries. Thanks a lot.
So thank you to Professor Musco. This is a very nice introduction. Now I'm proud to introduce Miss Maria Groueva, from the officer from the Joint Secretariat that is giving us the perspective of the Secretariat in the MED program, giving us some future tips to make that our work is aligned on their perspective. So please come here, and this is your session. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am very, very pleased to be here, that I took your invitation with delight to participate in your session, especially dealing with the challenge to be present and to present what we will see about European policy strategies and how they are connected as well with our program, Interreg Med program. So as we are having a wide audience, not only participation from projects, but as well different stakeholders, the Interreg Med program is in fact a transnational cooperation program that involves 13 countries, and we deal with different priorities for the Mediterranean. So green growth is one of the sub-themes included in our innovation access, as presented before by Sergio. We have 4 axes in our program. The first one is innovation, dealing with blue growth, green growth, social and creative industries, social and social economy in relation to clusters and SMEs. The second one deals with low carbon economy. So there we have the sub-theme of the sub-objective, in fact, of renewable energies and urban transport. And the third one deals with environment, and here more specifically with tourism and biodiversity. So all these issues are, as we have seen since the morning session, are very well connected in between them, and the green competitiveness can be one of these connections. So first, as asked, I wanted just to start with what is the green growth. Okay, so what is the situation now in the green businesses? So where we are. We have some very, very big achievements, I would say. The Paris Agreement on climate change, which gave a very big importance to combat climate change. The sustainable enterprises, they are all increasing their commitment and achievements of companies on renewable energies, gas emissions, sustainable supply chains, water management, and circular economy. We have as well all these technological development solutions for sustainability and innovation. But still, we can see that we face some troubling indicators and uncertainties for businesses. Oh, sorry, I am very confused with this. So, the green economy policy approach. We have different international organizations that place different emphasis on the 3 dimensions: economic, social, and environmental dimension of sustainability. So, for instance, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development focuses on the efficiency of the resources. The United Nations Development Program and the United Nations Environment Program focus more on inclusion of the environmental sensitivity approaches in the development strategies. The World Bank, the Environmental Association, and as well, the United Nations Environment Program focus as well on the importance of respecting the environmental aspects. So we are all working for this sustainability on the 3 facets of sustainability. One of the challenges for the environment and climate policies is their long-term perspective if you compare them with the social and the economic policies that have more, we would say, like short-term perspectives. So giving these matches between environment, climate policies, economic and social policies, it's really challenging how we can match them together so that the long-term and the short-term events are present. In fact, the green economy requires a long-term thinking and actions, and very widespread application of a coherent framework. So what we have now in regards to EU policies on green economy, we have some specific objectives and targets as they are set by the main growth and development strategy, which is the Europe 2020 strategy, and some long-term visions that set targets for the long run. So we have the European Roadmap to Resource Efficient Europe, the European Roadmap to a Low Carbon Economy, the EU 7th Environmental Action Programme, EU Energy Roadmap, EU Roadmap to Single European Transport Area, and a Circular Economy Strategy that appeared the last 2 years. So, in fact, we have a lot of policies, and I would share what the previous speaker said, that a lot of things should be matched in order to have a driven economy. So blue growth, green growth, transport, environment, all the things, industries all are connected. So the main European strategy, the Europe 2020 strategy, is in fact was in fact issued in 2010 as a 10-year growth strategy that aims, in fact, to create the conditions for more competitive economy and with higher employment. Here it is an extract from the report that has been recently issued regarding where we are in regards to achieving these targets. So there are very ambitious targets that are set as headline indicators to be reached by 2020 in 5 key policy areas: employment, research and development, climate change, energy sustainability, education, and fighting poverty and social inclusion. In fact, all these areas are very interrelated and mutually reinforcing each other. So educational improvements will help as well employability, and as well will reduce poverty. The Europe 2020 strategy is used as a reference framework for activities of at European level, at national and regional level. So reporting on them is part of the annual national reform programs. What we have here, we can see how all these have evolved since 2008 until 2014. So in 2014, in the end of 2014, the Commission performed a mid-term review of this strategy, and this included as well a public consultation. So the results show that we are on the road of achieving in some of the fields more, in some of the fields less, but still we will keep going to these targets. So following this review, the Commission decided to continue the strategy and monitor it through a process known as the European semester. With this strategy, in fact, there are 2 European flagship initiatives related to these strategies that were issued in 2010 and in 2011. The Resource Efficient Europe and the Industrial Policy for the Globalization Era. So here we have, in fact, key actions to increase the European industrial competitiveness, helping small and medium enterprises and industrial innovation, as well as seeing, in fact, the dynamics that come from the manufacturing sector. So there are some risks regarding this manufacturing sector, but we should see as well some of the well-performed indicators on competitiveness. So we talk about labor productivity more than the services sector and resource efficiency. And we should see how we can handle and how we can reduce, in fact, gas emissions in order to achieve the targets. So the flagship initiative for resource efficient Europe was then divided, in fact, to two roadmaps. The roadmap to a resource efficient Europe and to a roadmap of a low carbon economy. So these two roadmaps set somehow the long-term targets for achieving green competitiveness. And here we talk about ways to increase resource productivity, economic growth from resource use, and its environmental impact. There are certain milestones set for the years to come, so for 2030 and for 2040. And it is very crucial that all the industries, all the sectors contribute to this. So some of the main sectors responsible for emissions are named, in fact, in these roadmaps, and they refer more to power generation, industry, transport, buildings, construction, and agriculture, which is a real challenge. So one of the European Commission policies as well on green growth and green competitiveness refers to the 7th Environment Action Program that was endorsed in 2013. And here we have 3 key objectives. Two related to natural capital, to preserve and conserve and protect the natural capital, two related to resource efficiency, green and competitive low carbon economy. And the third one is related, in fact, to environment-related pressures, so that we safeguard the Union citizens from these risks. It names as well for enablers. So these refer to implementation of legislation, better information, wiser investments, and full integration of environmental requirements and considerations in other policies. It has as well 2 additional horizontal priority objectives to complete this program. So they refer more to sustainable cities and to help the Union address international environment and climate changes more effectively. So the last policy that I will refer to is the circular economy strategy that came up in 2015 with some revised legislative proposals on waste and landfilling, so that landfilling is reduced and recycling and reuse is increased. Here, in this circular economy strategy, the Commission sets an EU action plan for circular economy with some measures covering the full, in fact, life cycle of products. And very recently, in 2016, this EU action plan has been revised, has been monitored, and a European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform has been launched in 2017, just linking, in fact, the investors with the innovation. And as well giving some guidance to member states on converting waste to energy, as well as some proposals on how to improve legislation in regards to hazardous substances in electronic equipment. So the main initiatives included in the action plan for circular economy, for the circular economy in 2017 referred to strategies for plastics, to improve recycling, cut marine litter, remove dangerous chemicals, to monitoring the framework for the circular economy, and as well to give some, the Commission gave some legislative proposals for promotion of water reuse. So all these issues are very well connected to green growth, and as setting this framework, this European policies framework, they are very much connected with this circular, in fact, economy that we try to establish in our program. So in the Interreg MED program, the green growth, as already said, is as well a sub-theme of the innovation axis, along with the blue growth, culture and creative industries, and social economy. What we try is, in fact, to establish stronger transnational cooperation, a better connection between stakeholders of the four helixes axis. So research bodies, businesses, public authorities, and civil society. What we expect from this innovation axis and the projects that we have is, in fact, to have an ecosystemic approach, so that, again, having this circular approach to different fields, so we don't distinguish to focus on only on the special thing that is tackled by the project, but we try to connect the projects and make synergies between them, even if they are coming from different axes. They are all in our program. We take innovation as an open process, so that there are it's implemented and it's feeded by different aspects. Business and innovation support organizations as well as clusters are supported at transnational level, and we would like to see the development of some strategies in innovation policies and practices. We would like to see capitalization of all the results achieved at transnational level, so that they are not left after the finishing of the project. And as well, dissemination and knowledge not only on territorial level, but as well on European level. what we try, in fact, to measure after the end of all these operations in the innovation axis is the increase of the share of innovative clusters that have transnational activities. So this result indicator will be measured by independent resources. It has been benchmarked since the beginning of the program, and then it will be afterwards seen in 2020. In the green growth community now, as already mentioned by Sergio, we have 6 projects that are actively working. We will see if in the beginning of 2018 we have some more forces coming, some more sub-themes added to the green growth, apart of the agriculture, green manufacturing, green public procurement that are now tackled. And so hopefully we can arrive afterwards to reach our goal. So thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much, Maria Groueva, to give us this overview of policy strategies. As you know, we are hardly working in the Interreg Med in the green growth community. Try to match also this enlarged vision with these other policies. Our projects, I think that they could be, it's a challenge, but they could be aligned on these strategies, and with the deliverables, the ambition is to arrive into giving our results impacting the future policies with the sustainability aspects of our research. You spoke also about circular economy, and I will pleased to introduce the Professor Marco Frey from Sant'Anna University of Pisa, and I think that he could introduce us better about circular economy issues.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to discuss with you. I use frequently this kind of graph. Maybe some of you know very well. It's a representation of the situation in terms of sustainability in the world using the 3 pillars: economic one, social one, environmental one. 2 pillars are in the first axis. Here we use the Human Development Index. Do you know it's a composite index including expectancy of life, so health, education, and wellness in terms of GDP per capita. And as you know, we have a perfect level of quality of life with 1. Is very good from 0.8 to 1, quite good from 0.7, and no good below it. For this first representation, we have a strong concentration of African countries, a part of the Mediterranean area, in the position of no good quality of life. So the question for this kind of country is to improve social dimension and economic dimension of sustainability. Access to health system, access to education, access to main opportunity in terms of economic development. The second acts regard environment. So the proxy of the use of resources in the environment is ecological footprint. In this case, measured by the use of soil, hectare per person. When I burn in 1961, we have 3.7 hectare per person. When my daughter burned in 2006, the quantity is in half. Why? For the population and for the consumption patterns together. So now the availability per person in the world is less than capacity of production of resources in the world. You know, we have now 2.7 hectares per person of consumption and less than 2 of availability. So we are creating a debt. At the present, destroying soil, desertification, and so on, and especially for future generations. The other dynamic dimension of sustainability. So when the African countries in the southern part of the Mediterranean area discuss with us, the northern countries, about what we have to do, for example, for climate change, what is the first request from this kind of countries? Reduce your consumption patterns. Reduce the use of resources. This is the first point. And we have the necessity to go right in this graph. This is the first important point. We know we need different economic models because this kind of crisis, a structural crisis, give the necessity to change completely the mindset in the economy. We have two different words to define this kind of model. One is green, green economy, green growth. The other one is circular. They are a part, the second is a part of the first. Do you know also the definition of green and circular? We have to understand the situation in this field. What the UNEP thinking to a new economic model include inside the green economy? Include green economy reports, so the analysis in 10 important sectors, buildings, agriculture, tourism, sustainable agriculture, efficient buildings, and so on. 10 main sectors, very important, in which we have strong opportunities. Companies have strong opportunities. But we have also the question of jobs, so new jobs or change in traditional jobs, including different capabilities, and TIB, capital, natural capital and valorization of natural capital, ecosystem services, a very different way of thinking. It's not only a question to conserve, preserve environment, but to valorize the opportunity for development. In terms of ecosystem services, is a capital. We have to conserve the capital to obtain more results. Which kind of tools, processes we can include in green growth. This is a survey made on Google Scholar and Scopus, so made on scientific publication in this field. And we found that renewable resources is the first point. Resource efficiency, recycling, recovering, cleaner production, reuse, repair. So green, it's real connected to circular. And life cycle analysis as a tool, cost-benefit analysis as a tool, eco-design. So the first question is, OECD defined this in the report of 2011, green growth, towards green growth, decoupling. We are, if it's possible, at the beginning of the coupling processes in which we can growth without using more resources. A qualitative development, not a quantitative development. It's very interesting because in the green growth report of OECD, the representation finished in the first part of the crisis, in 2009. So it's impossible to see the coupling. You can see the beginning of the crisis and the coherent reduction of use of energy, the yellow line, for example. But what happened in the last 5 years about decoupling? This is quite interesting. Using OECD data, we can complete the graph, and since 2009, we have weak signal of decoupling. Resource productivity increased a lot for the crisis. We take a lot of attention on efficiency. The gross domestic product remain quite stable, a little bit of increase, and on the other side, we have a reduction of consumption of domestic materials. Pay attention, because we have to consider also the effect on importation to have the complete representation of this point. But this is very interesting. In Italy, in the last 5 years, we reduced by 30% the use of domestic material. This is another more complex representation with different indicators. CO2 versus GDP, primary energy versus GDP, and the municipal waste versus GDP. As you can see, we have some countries in the zone 3, absolute decoupling. So it could be interesting to analyze this kind of information, also for your activity, to understand which kind of country is not the same the position of different countries for different variables. For example, Italy is not very good in waste reduction. Italy is quite good in the use of material, the 6th country in the ranking of OECD. It's also very interesting to think about firms. What kind of performance, competitive performance, is associated with greening? This is a report made in Italy each year using a strong database by Union Camera, the Union of Chamber of Commerce in Italy. And I want only to give you an impression of this kind of result. Considering the firms that invest in greening, the green representation, in comparison with all kind of companies in our country. So the performance of the first group, the greening companies, is a double in terms of capacity to export and a double in terms of innovation. So green is correlated with internationalization and innovation. This is very important. Our market is completely flat, so we have the necessity to achieve competitive performance abroad. We know something about the circular package, thanks to the previous speaker. Some data about the potential result of circularity. This is a very known representation of Ellen MacArthur Foundation in Europe. The potentiality in different sectors, starting from motor vehicles. Or, this is another representation using the World Economic Forum competitive score and analyzing the correlation with the use of material per unit dollar of GDP, of creation of wealth. As you can see, there is a strong concentration in the higher part of the graph of European Western countries and on the use or intensity of use of material. This is a question of service, relevance of service activities in this kind of country, but it is also the representation of the coupling that we discussed before. This is a result of our research activity with more than 3,000 questionnaires in Italy. We tried to analyze the evolution of circularity considering the different phases in the life cycle. You know, we start from a big dimension of resources. During the cycle, we lost a lot of resources, material. And so it's quite tiny, the finish recyclable. We have to work in each phase in terms of circularity. But analyzing 3 phases, design phase, production phase, or distribution phase, we found good practices. 1/3 of firms sell product disassemblable in component monomaterial for almost the 50% of the parts. Good. 1 on 3 firms sell products recyclable for more than 70% of the material. Very good. It's not a change, it's the beginning of the change. The same of production. We have a quite industrial symbiosis. The production wastes generated by the 50% of Italian firms are input in production processes of other firms in the same or different sector. So, could be possible to be optimist in relation to decoupling. We have a lot of centrifugal forces that resist to this kind of evolution, also institutional laws in this field. In the waste sector is very evident. But we have to do together with system approach a lot of things. Another kind of answer, the engagement of private sector. This is very interesting opportunity. One example at international level is the Global Compact initiative. I'm the chairman of the Italian body of Global Compact. And it's very simple, the vision, very connected to the European policies. A more sustainable and inclusive global economy, because we have a big question on equity connected to sustainability. And two objectives. Make the 10 principles, so the question about human rights, environment, work, in the term of the international community's decision in the last 50 years, to internalize inside the company, but also to participate to the UN goals. Now, this meaning to participate to Agenda 2030. This is the international framework that can link also African countries and European ones in a same general strategy. And there are a lot of innovation in this approach. The most important is sustainability. Agenda 2030, in comparison with the previous agenda, Millennium Development Goals, is oriented to not only social issues, but also environmental issues and economic issues, prosperity issues. And we have a lot of goals that are very connected to the possibility of private sector to participate in, to create change using perspective of competitiveness. Some first representation of the situation in relation to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. If we want to consider the OECD role, as you can see, we have 4 reds. Decent work and economic growth, reduce inequality, and responsible consumption and production, circular economy, and climate action. So we can decide that it's possible to identify some key issues inside this broad agenda. For example, 12 and 13. Circularity and climate action. Thinking that this kind of focus can help also inequality and decent work and economic growth. Because the 17 goals are very connected. This is about the single target inside the 12 and 13 goals, but I can go. This is the situation of Italy. Very similar. No green performances in SDGs in Italy. Yellow or red. And red in 12, 13, also 14. 8. What we can say about the level of engagement of private sector or firms in the Agenda 2030. This is the situation. The participation in a strategic term in the different SDGs, as you can see, life on land, the focus on ecosystem services, this is a report that we do together, University and Global Compact Italy, about ecosystem services. But we have decent work at the top. Responsible consumption and production in the 4th position in relation to the contribution, potential contribution of companies to work in. And 3/4 of companies declare a strong identification in strategic terms with Agenda 2030. And we have also, this is a big survey, 1,000 of CEOs in companies operating in the world in more than 100 countries, did this kind of a representation. This kind of representation, in synthesis, is a very optimistic in terms of participation of the private sector. 90% think that sustainability is not only a question of personal responsibility, very important, but also a question of competitiveness. A lot of companies define the last 2 years, since September 2015, strategic plan oriented to sustainability. This is a big occasion. And there is also a strong availability to cooperate, to do partnership with other actors, to be transparent, to use data to report the performances. So, to go beyond the greenwashing, because you know, the strong attention on sustainability on this field create greenwashing. And you have the necessity to define action, collective actions, with strong results to push in the next 14 years, this kind of process. Benefit for business of engaging in SDGs, some results in terms of correlation. This is a scientific paper about the correlation between this kind of choice and results, economic results for companies. And this is the last graph. We need a systemic approach. This is the results coming from Eurobarometer in 2013. Is a similar analysis about the social responsibility of companies that Eurobarometer did in the previous year, but in 2013, for the first year, we have a different answer. Which is the main actor that can influence companies to do something better in terms of responsibility and sustainability? Not more institutions. This is also due to the lack of reputation of European institutions in the last, not Europe, but state institutions in our countries. But citizen and consumer with choice in purchasing. This is the first actor responsible. The answer is made by citizens. And secondly, management of companies through the decisions they make about what the company does. So, another big occasion. We can work together for this kind of challenge. We have to recover a strong role of institutions in our countries, but Agenda 2030 could be a general framework to do this. Many European countries began to define plan, national plan, oriented in this direction, and the European Commission is the first runner in this challenge. Thank you very much.
So, thank you, Professor Frey, for your inspirational presentation. You have touched many issues, and for us it's very important to have you in our community in order to remind us we have to think about circular economy, we have to think about sustainability, we have to learn from crisis. Maybe we could have it as an opportunity to have a sustainable development. Thank you very much. So I want to have here Anna to introduce with 30 seconds the works in the afternoon about the participatory workshop. Have patience, 1 minute more. We are going to the networking lunch, but we are back with the participatory workshop that Anna is going to introduce in 1 hour. Yeah. We give you the information for the lunch. It's a little bit outside from the venue, but we've got our colleagues give you the information.
Thank you, Gaetano. Welcome from my side too. So my name is Ana Maria Palados. I'm one of the members of Ecosistemi's team. And this afternoon you will have the pleasure to work not with me, but with my colleague Sabina Nicolella within a type of activity that will not suppose to have people in front and speaking, but to have you as main actors of what is happening. And we will propose you an experience in which we will ask you how can we work together to capitalize the tools and the approaches that we use in our projects to promote green growth in the Med area. We won't give you any hints about what should be this type of work together. We will let you propose the themes that you would like to see them tackled and to assume responsibility for what is happening in the group discussions. But I won't give you more information about it, just take into account the fact that it will be a very flexible and open activity, and we are counting on your participation and on you bringing on the table the type of activities, themes, topics that you would like to see approached and debated in order to see how we can capitalize the results of our projects. Because as we have seen with Maria, capitalization and the inputs in the European green growth policies is one of the main objectives of the Med and Interreg program, and this is one of the main reasons for which we are proposing you this topic for the participatory workshop. But meanwhile, as Gaetano said, we will invite you to lunch, and we will meet here, I think, at 3:15, because we are in a short delay, and I'm not sure it will be feasible to eat in only 1 hour. So at 3:15, we will meet again here to see with my colleague Sabina how we will work together in this afternoon session. Thank you.